Okay, over to you, Amy.
Thank you. So, for anyone who doesn't know me, I am Amy Zarandi. I'm a clinical psychologist and I work in the Stroke Neuropsychology service. Our service works across the one stroke pathway, so at North Bristol, University Hospitals, Bristol and Western, and Sirona. So, you might have seen some of us around. So, this talk is about fatigue after stroke. So the aims of this talk are to think about different types of fatigue following a stroke, to understand factors that contribute to fatigue and how fatigue is maintained, to think about how fatigue impacts the individual and also those around them, and to discuss some general fatigue management strategies that might be useful. So fatigue is one of the most widely reported difficulties after stroke and has a huge impact on quality of life. Fatigue appears in different ways and in response to different activities. So we often think about fatigue as physical fatigue, but even trying to concentrate and make decisions can be just as tiring as undertaking physical work. So let's just go through each of these types in turn. So physical fatigue, you might hear, I need to rest. So physical fatigue is, for example, from muscle weakness, finding things physically harder to do. And we have psychological fatigue. So you might hear, I just can't get motivated to do anything. And psychological fatigue can be associated with depression and anxiety. And we have cognitive fatigue. So with this one, you might hear, after a while, I just can't concentrate anymore. And with cognitive fatigue, it comes from the extra effort that it takes to think after having a brain injury. Okay, so 3 different types of fatigue there, and they don't necessarily work in isolation. So how does the stroke cause fatigue? So things might be physically harder work than before the stroke. You might find that time spent in hospital or at home doing less than your normal amount of physical activity can cause deconditioning. So this is where muscles get out of condition and they're out of practice. The brain damage caused can make the brain less efficient. So we might need to use more energy to do the same cognitive things. And when we say cognitive, we're talking about our thinking skills. So concentration and thinking take more energy than before. A reduction in processing speed and attention can lead to cognitive fatigue. There are also lots of other factors that influence fatigue on top of the actual brain injury, and these are all things that can impact any of us to feel tired, but also for somebody who also has the brain injury as well. So I'll go through each one of these in turn. So poor sleep can impact fatigue. So if we sleep too much or if we sleep too little, this can impact how awake or tired we feel. Medication. So some medications can make you feel more tired and sleepy and might also make it harder to think. And we have pain. So pain can make it more difficult to concentrate on things when pain is distracting. So you're distracted by the pain. It's really hard to concentrate on what you're trying to do. It means that we have less energy left over to do other things. Pain can disrupt our sleep, so that can impact fatigue as well. We have mobility. So if it's difficult to get about due to physical problems, it's likely to make day-to-day more tiring. The extra energy and extra effort needed takes away from the daily amount of energy that you have. And everyday activities that were previously easy might take much more energy now. So you might even find that you're doing less enjoyable, meaningful activities because you're not able to, you don't have the energy to. A lack of exercise can cause us to feel more lethargic. Mood can impact fatigue. So if we're feeling low or depressed, this can reduce our motivation and it makes doing activities feel quite tiring. Worry or stress. It uses a lot of energy that would be used elsewhere otherwise. Poor diet. So a healthy diet will help you to feel more energized. We might feel more lethargic with a poor diet. Illness. So if we don't feel very well, we might feel more tired and more fatigued. And the last one there is doing too much. So if we do too much, then we might crash, have a fatigue crash. Okay, so doing too much is part of a cycle that we might call the boom and bust cycle. So I'm going to go through a couple of ways that fatigue is maintained now, and that will be one of them. So firstly, on this diagram, we choose to do less or we spend a lot of time resting. And this leads to longer term consequences where the threshold for feeling tired gets less and less. So you actually only need to do less to feel more tired. So in that diagram, you can see we're feeling tired. Feeling tired leads us to rest. When we rest, we lose fitness. When we lose fitness, the movement that we do feels more tiring. And when the movement we do feels more tiring, we might move less or rest more. And this can lead us to lose fitness, which then makes movement even more tiring. And you can see that cycle going round in circles. So over time, we feel more and more tired doing less and less. So that's one way that fatigue could be maintained. So this is more of the boom and bust one that I sort of mentioned earlier. So another way of maintaining fatigue. So we choose to be very active and we push through the fatigue. So the boom and bust leads to a gradual worsening over time. So by doing too much when you have some energy, this leads to feeling more tired and having to rest for longer. So many people manage their fatigue by resting on what they would call a bad day and trying to do as much as they can on a good day. So over time, the good days become less good, while recovery on a bad day takes much longer. So this leads ultimately to a decrease in activity levels over time. And it's not just about physical activity. So we're talking about those other types of activity that we talked about earlier as well. So cognitive activity. Okay, so for example, it takes more effort to complete tasks, but we might push through the fatigue and try to finish what you started rather than taking a break and coming back to it after a rest. So this is the boom and bust. So boom, we carry on anyway. Bust, we have a fatigue crash. We can't do anything but rest. So pushing yourself too hard has consequences. So what are the areas that can be affected by fatigue? So it can affect our engagement and rehabilitation. So sometimes sessions can be an hour, and that can be too much if we have fatigue. It might be that we need to do little and often rather than big, long sessions. Fatigue can impact how we regain independence in day-to-day life after a stroke. So you might need more support with daily tasks, less able to do things by yourself. It can affect our ability to return to work or to socialize. Might find it really tiring being around people. It can affect our engagement in enjoyable activities. If we're feeling fatigued, we might not be able to do the things that we used to enjoy. It can also affect our relationships. So others might not understand how exhausting fatigue can be, and this can cause a problem in the relationship, because they might feel like friends might think, oh, why can't you just come and join us? They don't understand that actually you can't, you're fatigued, it's very difficult. It can affect your mood. So we might feel low about being unable to do the things that we used to be able to do. Fatigue impacts cognition. So for example, it could be harder to keep up with conversations. It could be harder to process what's being said. So if you have cognitive difficulties, fatigue can exacerbate these. Fatigue can impact our sleep pattern. So if we're having to nap during the day, maybe we're finding it harder to sleep through the night in the evening. And fatigue can also impact the lives of family and carers. So it's not just the individual who's experiencing the fatigue, but for example, if family are having to do more for their loved one, it might limit their social lives, perhaps not able to go out as much as they used to and see other people. And this might result in feelings of loneliness and isolation. So let's have a think about some general strategies. So we have the 3 Ps. So pacing, planning, and prioritizing. I'll go through each of these in turn. So pacing. So the key to pacing is to do each activity at a steady rate with regular breaks. So if we look at the left side of this slide, we've got the big push approach. Okay, so we climb all the stairs at once, and the result of this is you have to rest for 10 minutes at the top, and you feel achy and tired the next day. If you take a break when you're already tired and fatigued, it's too late. Once the fatigue has set in, it will take you much longer to recover. It's better to stop a little early, take a short break, and start again than to just keep going. So on the right side of this slide, we can see the pacing approach. So we climb for 5 steps, rest for 30 seconds. Climb another 5 steps, rest for 30 seconds. Climb another 5 steps, rest for 30 seconds. And the result is that you don't need a long rest at the top and don't feel so tired the next day. When you're using rest breaks, it could vary. It could be for 5 minutes, or it could be for an hour. It just depends on the type of activity that you're doing and what your personal needs are. So planning, so we want to plan ahead, plan the day, plan the week ahead, plan implementing those breaks rather than waiting until you get to do the task and think, oh, I'm crashing now, this is too much. You can set reminders. So ahead of time, set reminders to take regular rest breaks, plan them in advance. So by creating routines, we can find a pattern that works for us and put those breaks in. Try and spread out your activities, so try not to do them all at once. Plan spreading them out across the week, or if you've got several things to do that day, plan spreading it out across the day and having those rest breaks. It can even be helpful to keep items together, so for particular tasks, rather than having things in, for example, different rooms of the house where you're having to use physical energy to go and get all of those different items, you can sort of keep things together that are used for certain tasks. And try measuring and tracking your energy use. So we use a traffic light system for this. So you could say high energy activities that take a lot out of you would be classed as red. Amber would be those where you can kind of manage them, but they do cause some fatigue. And green would be where you're able to do things quite easily and it doesn't take much energy. Okay. And then you can look at your week and see, are you doing a lot of those red high energy activities in one day? Are you likely to end up crashing and feeling fatigue after? Can you spread them out so you have some green activities as well as a red one in a day? Okay, so it's just about working out a pattern that works for you. So now we have prioritizing. So be kind to yourself. Don't try to do everything. Create a balance of activities that you need and want to do. So often we think, right, the priority is getting all of these chores done. The priority is getting all of these things done that need to be done, but aren't necessarily enjoyable. You want to be able to do activities that you enjoy as well as need to do. Okay, so when you're thinking about how you're balancing your day of activities or your week of activities, it's also a priority to have things that you enjoy doing in that as well. Delegate or drop tasks if you can. Do you need to be the person who does something? Is there somebody else who could take that off your hands and do it? Or is it something that even needs to be done? Maybe it's not imminent. Maybe you don't need to do it now. Maybe it's something that can be done in a few weeks' time. So you could drop that task for now. And look for activities that make you feel energized. And this is going to be different for each of us. So think about activities you can do that help you to feel energized. So we also want to think about creating healthy routines and a healthy lifestyle. So have healthy eating habits to avoid sugar highs and lows. When we have those sugar highs and lows, that can cause fatigue, that can cause us to crash. Try to avoid caffeine and nicotine, as these lead to withdrawal and can make fatigue worse. Or if you do have caffeine and nicotine, try not to have it in the evening before going to sleep. Try and develop a healthy sleep routine. So if fatigue leads to having a nap, this can impact sleep at night. So consider what the most helpful sleep pattern is for you. Get into a healthy sleep routine. Try and introduce balanced exercise into your life. So this is really important for managing fatigue. We don't want to just do no exercise, and it would be at whatever level is appropriate for you. And think about checking your environment. So are there ways that you can conserve energy? So for example, can you organize your workspace so it's not cluttered and you're having to sort that out before you even get started on a task? Or are you often disturbed when you're doing something and that makes it really difficult to get back to what you were doing, or you were resting and somebody interrupted you? So is there a way that you can let people know not to disturb you while you're busy or resting? Try to think about efficient use of resources. So use memory and planning strategies such as diaries and reminders. Helps to take the strain off the brain. So using external aids to support your brain. Think about relaxation, maybe mindfulness. So, rest don't need to be boring. Relaxation can really help to relieve symptoms of stress, and stress uses energy. So it can help you to calm down, take a step back from a stressful situation. Maintaining a stressful body state is highly energy consuming, and relaxation is a skill that needs to be practiced daily if you're going to do it. It might not be easy at first. You might find it hard to find the time. But if you invest 20 minutes a day in relaxation, you'll manage your day more effectively. You'll feel less stressed. Consequently, you'll have more energy. Okay. So you can think about what activities best relax you, because again, they're different for different people. But these are some that you might consider. So deep breathing, muscle relaxation techniques, mental imagery, so visualizations, maybe listening to music, perhaps even just switching off your phone and sitting quietly, reading a book. If reading a book is difficult, perhaps listening to an audiobook. Everyone has different ways of relaxing, and sometimes different things may be relaxing for different people. So it's just about finding what works for you and what you're able to do with your current abilities. Thank you very much for listening, and I wonder if anybody has any questions.